This is a vintage Izod Lacoste sweater. It's acrylic. Total 70s, 80s nostalgia. We probably got this in a bag sale for cheap, and it sold for $30. We always get these because they always sell. They're not wool, but people like them because they've got the little alligator. These are a set of 6 napkin rings. You can see there's 6 of them. They're what looks like solid brass with enamel, and they're pairs. And they're just a really nice set. I actually have 12 of them, but I broke this set up into 6. I also have another set of floral ones that are like little violets. And these I actually sold on offer. I had them up at $39 and she offered $37. And I said yes. Since the weather is cold and snowy, it's the perfect time to sell boots. So this pair right here is a pair of leather and rubber. Well, they're both leather and rubber, but these are more vintage Canadian boots. They're wool lined. Those sold for, we took an offer, well, Jay took an offer of $42. And then these are a pair of Pro lines, and they're fleece lined, and they're leather and rubber. I think we took an offer of $50 on those. So those are pretty good prices for some old boots. These are 2 soft flannel shirts by the brand St. John's Bay. Now, I always thought St. John's Bay was just a generic Walmart brand, but I looked it up and I guess you can buy it at JCPenney, so it's a little bit higher end than I thought. We sold a pair of these kind of matching shirts for $25, which I think is a little bit low, but I guess it was the right price because someone bought them. This is kind of a ridiculous and amazing hat. Playboy, 1970s, bright orange mesh trucker hat. I put this up for $40 because I thought it was totally unique and wacky. And it sold. So $40 for a little trucker hat. Pretty good. I probably bought it for just a few cents. These are 3 items that sold to the same person. 2 sweaters and a little jacket shirt thing. You can see the sweater on the right has a monogram, initials embroidered into it. I sold that for $37 on sale. This is like a plaid wool jacket shirt thing. That sold for $27 on sale. And then this is a ski sweater from the 70s. It is all wool, made in Vermont, totally beautiful. I've had it forever. So I brought the price down and it was on sale. So that sold for $27. So that's about, $90 to $100 worth of sweater jackets sold to one person. So that's nice. This is a vintage, super shiny chrome wearing blender base. I love these. I think they're awesome. They're totally retro. I usually get them as a full set with the jar on top and everything. But I did grab this one just because it's super sturdy. But the problem with this is the front is all worn off. It doesn't look great. So I actually took an offer of $20. I think I might have had it up for $36 or $40 just because it's so awesome. But the front really is what makes it. So someone was willing to take it for $20, probably because it's just a sturdy, great blender. And they probably have a jar for it. So $20 is not bad. This is a vintage San Francisco Giants baseball hat, snapback. Now, what do you think this sold for? It's pretty basic, right? Nothing special. It's made of polyester. It sold for $40, and I'll show you why. So you can see here that the label says it's made in the USA, and it's got a union label. So you definitely know it's vintage. It's either from the 70s or 80s. So there are a lot of fans out there that will pay good money for just a regular hat like this. $40 is a good price for just a little polyester hat. So keep an eye on the label. That's what makes it valuable. These are Copeland Spode Tankards mugs, and we've had them for about 2 years now. One of them sold for $96, and then she asked me if I had any others, and I had 2 identical ones. And then she said, "Can I make an offer?" And she made me an offer of 82. That one sold for 96, and those sold for 82. So I combined shipping after she made an offer on the second 2. So that is a total of $260 right there. You can see on the bottom it has the name of the ships, and then the Copeland Spode Fine Stone Trade Winds. That's the pattern, is the trade winds. And the only reason I knew Copeland Spode sold for a lot was my mom told me that she sold a plate for like $100 or something. So anytime I see Copeland Spode, I just grab it. I think I got these. I got them at a local thrift store. They had like a set with a cream pitcher and some bowls. I forget how much I bought them for, but it was not very much at all. It might have been $15 for the whole, bunch. This is a handmade little jug that says maple syrup, made by the Cedar Swamp Stoneware Company in West Barnstable, Mass, which is on Cape Cod. And I know that because I'm from Massachusetts. And I don't know, I think I probably bought this for just a couple bucks. It's really cute. And it sold for $40. This is a vintage Revereware copper clad skillet. It's a 1 quart size, and it's made in the USA, stainless steel, classic. They last forever. I always buy these because I just love them. I don't make that much money on them. This one sold for $25, which isn't bad. It doesn't have a lid. If it had a lid, I could probably charge between $30, $36, depending on the size. Part of us buying these is we just love that they can be passed down from generation to generation and they just last forever. So I only pay a couple bucks, if that. I try to only pay $1 for these. If I can, but $2, $3 maybe. This is a vintage Ernest and Julio Gallo wine crate. It does not have the top, but it's just kind of an open crate box to put wine in, or really anything. We probably got this for, I don't know, a buck or two, and it sold for $40. This is a vintage 1980s Sidestep radio and tape player. It's pink. I think I got this at a thrift store on a bag sale, so it probably only cost a few cents or $1. And I looked these up to see if anyone else had one, and no one else did. So I put it up for $125. And it sold for full price. So that's a really nice sale. This is a vintage Eiffel Tower shaped wine bottle that's been turned into a lamp. We got this at a junky little yard sale that we stopped at that we couldn't find anything at. And right before I left, I saw this sitting on a back table close to the house. And it was filthy. It was just like covered in grease and dust. Good thing is it's ceramic, so that's really easy to clean off. They wanted $10 for it. I think I paid $10 for it. I thought it was pretty unique and cool. It actually sold on Bonanza yesterday for $150. So I'm quite happy with that. This is the UMA core system with the Scout in the hub. And what that means is it's this system where you can place phone calls over the internet. This unit allows you to make phone calls over your internet line. So you hook it up through your modem and you hook up your phone through this. And then this hooks up to the modem and you can make phone calls. I actually bought 2 of these, and one of them couldn't be activated because it still had someone else's activation that was, still valid. So I returned that one. But this one still could be activated, but I decided since you have to pay fees every month for this, that I wanted to get something that was straight up just a device, not a service, that would not cost anything every month. I already pay for internet, so I feel like if I can buy something that can just work over the internet without fees every month, then that's better. So this sold in about 2 days. I bought it for $25 plus about $10 shipping, and it sold for $65. So I did make a profit on it. I might actually even look for more of these on auction to see if I can resell them. These are a pair of vintage Florsheim, kind of like grandpa loafers. I'm just going to keep them in the bag. I don't know, we probably bought these for like $1 or less. They're pretty much unused, and they sold for $50. These are a pair of very distressed LL Bean Maine hunting boots. They're leather and rubber, kind of duck boots. Yes, they're very distressed, but the reason these are valuable is they have the original LL Bean cursive label in them, which makes them very old. They could be from the 50s. So these actually sold for $50. I had them up for $79. But someone gave us an offer, and they are pretty rough. Although the rubber is good. There's no cracks in it or anything, so that was a good sale. This is a vintage Pyrex Flameware double boiler. These, I think, are just beautiful. I find them sometimes, but they don't sell very often. I probably paid like less than $5 for this, and it actually sold on Bonanza for $80, so I was quite happy with that price. I'll show you the logo too. It's really beautiful. So you can see the logo is this old Pyrex with the little like flames on it. That's why they call it Flameware. So always keep an eye out for that little logo, and you can call it Pyrex Flameware. This is a vintage World War II era navy jumper shirt. It's 100% wool. We bought several of these over the years. Don't pay more than $5 for them, probably less. Several times we bought them in bulk. And this one sold for $40. It has no patches. And a lot of times it'll have people's names on them and patches and stripes and things like that. And I usually sell those for a lot more, sometimes over $100. But this one is pretty much totally blank. You can see on the back, it does have the original tag with someone's name on it, but that's all it had. So this kind of indicates how old it is. I believe this is from the 40s or 50s. This is a sweatshirt by the artist Laurel Birch. She was very, very, very popular in the 80s and 90s, and she actually died in the 90s. She was pretty young. She was like in her 40s. You can still buy these, like they're still manufactured, but this one is original from the 80s. So I put it up for $30 and it sold. She also does a lot of jewelry design, so you'll find a lot of like Laurel Birch jewelry. And the reason I know her is my mom used to have a ton of her jewelry, so when I was growing up. So I know how to spot it, but she's really popular. I've always sold stuff by her very easily. This is a hood to a jacket. It is wool. It is lined in this satiny fabric. It's got little buttonholes. And I'll cut right to the chase. It sold for $30. That's more than I sell some jackets for. So the reason is, I think, some people like to sew these onto jackets or sweatshirts. I've seen other people do that where they want a hooded sweatshirt. So it's great for people who are into sewing and want just a ready-made hood. This one's great. If this had fur lining, like that coyote fur lining, I could have sold this between $50 and $60. I've had several of those with the fur lining, and they've sold for that much almost overnight, mostly to Scandinavian countries. So it seems that there is quite a demand for just hoods for jackets. So keep an eye out in some of those bins that have scarves and hats and mittens and socks and things like that. I find them in there all the time. I love little vintage cookbooks like this. I think they're so cool. These were from the 50s and 60s, Pennsylvania Dutch cooking recipes. We live quite near the Pennsylvania Dutch community, and there's a lot of Mennonites too in our area. So we find stuff like this all the time. I've actually had these for about 2 years. And they were listed separately, $12.99 each, and the same person bought them. So it's about $26 for these little cookbooks. They're so cute. I love them. So I always keep an eye out for, kind of vintage cookbooks like this. This is kind of a funny story. These are masonry nails. So they're definitely vintage, but I think you can buy them now. We bought two 50-pound boxes of these, so 100 pounds. One is a little bit longer than this. These are 2 inches. The other ones were 2.25. So 50 pounds each, so 100 pounds of these masonry nails. And they were probably $5 in an auction for all of them. And to me, they looked like those old square cut nails that people used to use to build like barns and, put flooring down. So I thought I would sell them as, reproduction square cut nails because they're a high quality nail. So what I did was I sell them by the pound. I just put them on the scale. This one's a little over a pound, but I do $10 a pound. So if you calculate that, that's 10 times 100, that's $1,000. I've had them for about 2 years. So over 2 years, I'll make $1,000 on a $5 investment. This is a PlayStation 2 USB headset, new in the package. Obviously, this would be a great item once we start doing Amazon. But we haven't done that yet, so this has been up for just a couple months. And actually sold on Bonanza, my third Bonanza sale this week, and it sold for $30. Now this is a really cool sale because it sold for a lot more than you would think. This is a little bottle opener. It says Frank Brothers, the Homestead, Hot Springs, Virginia. It is definitely vintage. The Homestead at the Hot Springs is a resort hotel. I've never been there, but I've heard that it's pretty famous. And this probably cost us 25 cents, 50 cents, and it sold for $30. Pretty cool. And that's it for this week. Some good sales, 3 sales on Bonanza. Hopefully next week we'll have some higher price items selling more frequently. Bye.